The Dawnbringer Mechanisms of Moving.
Quilum was going to pay. By the sparking guts of the dark innovator, Cratrick Brassfang, most ingenious of Clan Gasket's engineers, swore thusly. For too long he'd watched Arch-Warlock Chakat be taken in by the smooth chitters of his rival, diverting resources from Catrick's far more deserving projects. With faultless patience he'd endured accusations of his agents attempting to sabotage Quilum's prized warp nexus virilator. Ridiculous. The saboteurs had clearly been paid off by another. Had they followed Catrick's orders to the letter, there had been no attempted about it. But Quilum's vandalizing of the hyper-warp rattling cannonade, that had been going too far. Worse still, the stub-tailed rogue had timed it for the clan's great murder machination, where each warlock demonstrated the fruits of their genius beneath Chakat's gaze. Catrick knew his rival was responsible for the warpstone accelerator battery's catastrophic disconnection from the cannonade's gimbal limiter. He'd never forgotten to double-check the affixing. Catrick had only just escaped the disaster that had obliterated half of the Arch-Warlock's lair in Inner Circle. He knew punishment was coming, but before it did, Quilum was going to pay.
"Hey, dears,"
Catrick muttered, hunched at his workbench. A sparking cable overhead illuminated the barrel-mouthed contraption he laboured over. Hissing, Catrick snapped a claw.
"Worthless thrall, breast tube up on the shelf."
Apologies, most masterful of mechanizers. Zit prostrated low enough to scrape the floor with his snout before scuttling off. The acolyte had never been marked for greatness. He had in fact been marked as target practice, but he also lacked the sense to flee like the warlock's other servants, and Catrick was on a shrinking deadline. Zit soon returned, tube clutched in his paws. Catrick snatched it without comment. He opened the slide upon its flank, his tail twitching at the hiss of escaping pressure, before he lifted a pair of rusted tongs.
"Careful now,"
he mumbled. His tongue protruded in concentration. Then the world quaked with a crashing din. Discarded apparatus and half-finished doomsday weapons clattered where they lay. Catrick hissed as the tongs almost leapt from his grip. Blight City was always shaking itself apart, but recently its tectonic agony had been especially pronounced. It wasn't helping matters. Exhaling, Catrick reached into the tube. Another spark illuminated the thread he plucked from within.
"Whisker, master?"
Zit asked.
"From Quilum's own snout,"
Catrick said. A third electrical sparking lit up the glee in his eyes.
"Had to call many favours from the Eshin. Yes, and this,"
he motioned to the pipe-encrusted brass contraption before him.
"Technology from the Bombardiers. When the warpstone core is attuned to a piece of Quilum's body, an attached warhead will become attuned to Quilum's own soul scent. Its blast will annihilate his very essence."
The warlock's cackle descended into mania.
"I'd hoped to test refine it further. But so be it. A fine blooding he will make. Shakat will forget his displeasure when he sees my creation's brilliance. Yes.
Catrick's grin vanished quickly as a plunging dagger. He glanced at Zit, his nostrils flaring.
"We go. Now. But both of us, most dearest of dominators?" Now, wretched thing,"
Catrick hissed, lashing his iron-tipped tail across the cringing acolyte's shoulders.
"Somebody must be there to witness my genius, and to be caught red-pawed with the murder weapon if I've misjudged Chakat's capacity for forgiveness."
A series of hidden hatches led to the exterior of Clan Gasket's foundry warren. The structure was a crooked pinnacle of iron that had long judged gravity in irrelevance, a mirror to its many counterparts that cast needle shadows across Blight City. Warp winds howled as the two ratmen clung to the spire's spike-studded exterior. Behind brass-rimmed goggles, Catrick cast his gaze over the sprawl. Blight City was always consumed by activity. Rarely, though, had it seemed so animated. Beneath viridian lightning and bloated smog clouds, every foundry and laboratory blazed with industry. Shrieks accompanied the stamping of innumerable marching paws. Catrick started climbing. His dexterous paws scrabbled into handholds nestled across the uneven hide of the clan stronghold. His wrists strained, gear clattering in the wind. Zit's constant whimpering didn't soothe the lurches of vertigo whenever Catrick's gaze fell on the plunging drop. By the time Catrick reached the narrow ledge opposite Queelam's laboratory, a bulbous chamber that swelled from the spire's flank like a tumour, bells had begun to clang across Blight City, rising with the groans of the warpstone plateau on which the city stood, and the rumblings of its tortured skies. His fur stood on end. He fought it down as he crouched, unslinging the weapon and placing the prize whisker within before slotting a warhead. Its warpstone core began to glow an evil green, snuffing out the scraps of Queelam's soul that clung to the follicle. Catrick breathed low, trying to steady his jittering heartbeat, and pulled the trigger. The rocket wailed as it launched, a black corona enveloped in the corkscrewing warhead. It ripped into Queelam's lab like the Screaming One's claw. In a flash of hateful light, portions of the structure's mangled metal flesh tore free with a bone-powdering boom. Murky emerald smoke belched from the blast site. Nothing moved amongst the wreckage except flickering fire. As bells continued to scream across the city, Catrick heard his own panting turn to laughter. Then a thud echoed. Catrick's glee choked. Another heavy impact saw the smoke ripple. A hulking shape stomped into view at the lip of the spire's savaged gash, a figure entombed in a walking gun-studded coffin of green-tinged metal.
You would try something, Catrick,
projected through the far squeaker array mounted across its thickened armour. Queelam's voice dripped with scorn. The warlock had less natural bulk than Catrick, but the strapped-together warsuit and the chundering power sources affixed to its back compensated ably.
Ashen spirals whispered of your soul-blasting firework, so I crafted this armor to eat Goblet's magic. Not the only one who can meddle with warpstone. No. And it has other advantages.
A keening, whirring din rang out. Ignoring Zit's screams, Catrick raced to arm the spare warhead as the generator mounted to Queelam's armor roared, providing him with the strength needed for the other warlock to heft a rattling gun single-handedly, its barrels whirring and keening to life. It was, as both prepared to fire, that the greatest belt-hole yet rang out. The sonic force felt like it would blast the warlock's soul from his body. Catrick screamed, dropping his weapon and clasping his paws over his ears. He faintly heard Queelam do the same. Every hair, every muscle seemed to be immobilized. Opening his eyes felt like hacking through stone. The world had stopped. Billowing smoke hung immobile. Fire froze mid-crackle. Spears of lightning lingered as if trapped in a moulder chief's preservation vat. Catrick cast furtive glances to and fro, locking his suspicious glare with an equally bemused Queelam. A throat-dredged chuckle interrupted their acrimony. Catrick could not restrain his terror musk. Every nerve clattered as he looked upwards. Crouched in the air was the outline of a figure, hunched and distended to vast proportions. A spiraling coronal of horn sprouted from its head, framing the warpstone shard upon its brow. One claw clutched a glaive, the other a curved sickle. Catrick heard Queelam squeal and prostrate himself before the vermin lord even as he did the same. A thump heralded Zit's collapsing. The acolyte didn't bow. His heart had exploded. The demon snickered before inhaling. Scraps of Zit's wailing soul flowed into its gullet. It licked its lips before eyes leaden with malevolence settled on the warlocks.
Amusing.
Blood leaked from Catrick's ears with each syllable that clawed against his brain pan.
But this bickering ceases. You are needed. Yes, yes, terrible lord, Quilum squealed. My masterworks, all to your glory. Foul Catrick, petty Catrick, he sought sabotage.
The grinding of armor accompanied his frantic gesticulation.
Perhaps
The scrutiny from the demon's nova-bright eyes pinned Catrick.
this one's talent for weaponcraft is diverting. We desire to see more.
The vermin lord straightened, giving a commanding hiss.
Your service to Shachat is ended, dead. The Underfather demands obeisance from those of his brood with a spark of talent. Much to be done. Yes, for the most masterful scheme. You will work to our design together.
Both warlocks glared at each other, but both recognized the futility of arguing. Swallowing, Catrick forced words past unwilling lips.
But, your verminous excellency, for what purpose?
Though its face remained a sketch of dark lightning, Catrick thought the demon grinned.
The Nor, spawn of ours. Always to Nor.